Welcome. I am Daniel G. Garza, and this is another episode of Put It Together Conversations. How are you doing? Welcome to the show. Remember, you can watch us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and you can be part of the conversation. If you're on Facebook, just make sure you go into the dark part of the video, into that dark area, put your question there. On YouTube, just comment down below, and we will read your question. And if you're on Twitter, don't feel left out. You can comment and retweet it, and I will see and share the questions with my guest. All of the questions will be answered, so make sure you participate. Remember, Put It Together Conversations is a show about folks, where they come from, where they are now, and what their journey is like. And the idea is to motivate and inspire other people to go after their dreams and goals, and we hope that we inspire you today. I'm going to start by let me bring up the banner for my guest. Here we go. So I can read his bio. If you guys watched the video before this, you realize that as I was about to read the bio, I somehow erased the page and I had to go before it, but not this time. Just get my glasses on. Tom Seidman is the founder and creator of Bardo VR, a multi-level virtual reality meditation game based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Tom discovered the Tibetan Book of the Dead during a lifetime fascination with Buddhism and virtual reality during a Bernie Sanders rally in 2015. He had an epiphany that the union would be a marriage made in heaven and has been working for the last 3 years to realize that vision. In his other life, Tom is a filmmaker. He graduated cum laude from Dartmouth College and subsequently attended the American Film Institute Center for Advanced Film Studies as a directing fellow. He has worked as a DGA assistant director for such filmmakers as Robert Redford, Clint Eastwood, and Peter Weir on numerous network television shows. In 2003, he formed Honey Creek Pictures, where he has produced, written, and or directed 4 feature films, including The Christmas Bunny, which I totally recommend you see, with Florence Henderson, which is seen annually on national television. Totally, it's such a cute movie. You should watch it. Tom has been a mediator and student of Buddhism for over 25 years, studying with such teachers as Ken McLeod and Noah Levine. He has attended several meditation retreats, including the intensive 10-day Vipassana silent retreat in Joshua Tree, California. So without further ado, let me bring Tom into... Hi, Tom.
Hi, Daniel.
How are you doing, sir?
Wow. I can't believe you read that whole thing.
Well, it was, usually my guests will send me their links and some of them say like you in the email, if you want to take anything out, if you want to, but usually they're so good that I'm like, why would I want to take anything out? Like side story. I just celebrated 20 years as an HIV advocate, and I was asked to write an article on my trajectory as an advocate, and they only gave me 750 words, which I thought was like ridiculous. Like I can't do that. But as I was reading it, I was like, wow, I should be really proud of everything that I've done. So, sir, be proud of everything you've done. Plus, I do have to say that Christmas Bunny is one of my favorite because it's such a cute story. Just the whole storyline. I'm not going to give anything away, so you guys have to go watch it. And then, okay, the one thing I will say is to see Florence Henderson being grouchy, it's just so cool. She is so good at being grouchy. God bless her, rest in peace. But she was so awesome in that character. So go watch it, guys. You don't have to wait till Christmas. Go check it out. Or you can find it on YouTube. That's where you can find. That's where I found it.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Yeah.
But welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I had the same. As you read all that stuff, and I was listening. I was thinking, I'd really like to meet that guy. That guy sounds like he's done a lot, and then there's like a disconnect, between how I think of myself sometimes, too much of the time probably, and what I guess who I am or what I've done. And I think maybe that's the common problem people have, is like they don't appreciate who they are.
Yes, our mirrors hide things from us. So when we see ourselves in the mirror, we don't see everything that other people get to see. And which is why I love having guests like you on the show, is to show the world, our audience, who you guys are. Like, y'all, some of my, I mean, not some of my guests, most of my guests are just have done amazing things, and I'm like, let's show the world what you do. So you'll get to you can watch this in replay and realize how cool you are. So.
Yeah, well, that's that's, I guess that's probably you talk about the show being about people's personal journeys to who they are, and I think that has been sort of the central issue of my personal journey, has been acknowledging who I am, embracing who I am, appreciating who I am, and not like getting a big head about it. And that, I was brought up in like a very conservative town in the Midwest, in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay.
Grand Rapids, Michigan. I don't know if it's still true. Grand Rapids in Michigan at one time had more churches per capita than any other city in the country.
Oh.
So this is a very religious community, a very conservative community. And I think and so, and kind of a very Puritan, if you will, community.
Right.
And one of the sort of unspoken messages that you got, I think, that you can get in that kind of community is like, don't have a big head, don't think you're somebody special, don't speak unless you're spoken to, and be quiet. Be quiet. And
that's a very Latino thing too.
Is it really?
We're taught to like, shh, like don't brag about things. God doesn't like that. So shh, we keep our things like, you're not allowed to acknowledge your own triumphs. But we live in such a society that we're all fighting for our space, and you, if you don't blow your own whistle every once in a while, you don't get recognized, and we need to do it. We need to do it.
Here, I've got a thing. I have a thing up on my bulletin. I have a bulletin board here that's just full. Here, I don't know if you can see it. I'll see if I can turn this for a minute. You can see this bulletin board I have, which is just full of little sayings and pictures and everything. Obviously, I have a lot of crap in here. But here's this is attached. It's attached to my Bernie Sanders volunteer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was a volunteer for Bernie in the first time through. I hadn't done that in a long time. So this is from Nelson Mandela's 1994 inaugural speech.
Oh, wow.
Okay. He said this during his speech. I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but even if you have, I think it's worth hearing again. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Wow. It is so interesting, and this has been happening lately. Now that I'm doing 2 shows a day on Saturdays, that there's a connection between both episodes, which is so interesting. So for all of you watching, go back and watch the noon show for today, and you'll see. But we were talking about, um, oh my God, imposter syndrome, and how we. I can only speak for myself. I have been working so hard. I've been in entertainment now for 15 years, and I have been working so hard to get to a certain level in my career where I feel like I'm successful and I'm doing okay. And then once I cross that line, because for those of you out there, I do feel like I'm very successful. Once I crossed that line, it was like, shoot, I'm in the wrong room. How did I get in here? Like, like somebody's gonna realize that I'm not who I think I am. But I mean, yes, and not to toot my own horn, but I guess that's the theme of the show a little bit today. I have realized that the things that I love to do, I can do them well if I give myself the permission to go all the way with them and not sabotage myself. If that makes sense.
Yep. That's exactly that's my journey. That's been my journey as well. When I first came out here, took me a lot of. I mean, I've always been like, writer, actor. Since I was a little kid, just school plays, and I'd write stuff for the high school plays. The pep rallies and stuff, and be in plays and in the. But it was always kind of it was non-professional, it was amateur, it was I didn't take it seriously, really. And then I finally got the courage to come out here to Los Angeles, to pursue that dream. That was oh God, that was a long time ago. It was in 1976. And I remember when I first got on a studio lot. It was at Warner Brothers. I could take you to the exact spot where it's still there. It's in part of their kind of town square area. It's actually where they shot Back to the Future. The center of town. Back to the Future, the middle of Warner Brothers.
I've been on that lot.
Yeah. And I was standing there on that lot and looking around going, oh my God, I'm here in, Hollywood on a studio lot working. And, and the next thought was like, I have absolutely no right to be here. What am I doing here? And, it's the perfect, somebody's going to come up to me and say, what the hell are you doing here? What are you doing? You don't deserve. You don't fit in. You don't deserve to be. You don't fit in here. Go away and earn the right to be here.
Yes.
And it's like I've been trying to earn the right to be here ever since. So
I did even in my own studio with the show that I've created. I still sometimes feel like, what are you doing here? And then I have great folks like you come on the show. I'm like, oh, they're going to realize you're just BSing your way through all this and not want to come back. But for those of you watching, we're 15 minutes into the show, and we haven't talked about how we met, because I usually tell my guests how we met. For those of you who have been watching the show probably since October, there have been several guests that have come on the show that I've met through the Lunch Club app or the page. So if you're not on Lunch Club, go check it out. I will post the link, my personal link, in the description. So go check it out. But it's a great place to meet people, and the computer will randomly connect you with somebody, and you have a little Lunch Club date and get to talk. And that's where Tom and I met. And we just had it's supposed to be 45 minutes, but I think you and I talked for like an hour and a half that day. And there was so much left that we didn't get to, which is why he's here today. So we want to hear more of your story. So Tom Seidman, tell us how you put it together.
Well, I think it's pretty clear from what I've told you already that I'm still putting it together. I think putting it together is a lifelong process. And it's really, let me see. Yeah, you have to make sure that nobody sees us in the industry. But, I'm 71 years old, right? So my career should be over in terms of the entertainment industry. Maybe as an actor, I could get cast as like the grandpa in the corner, with drool coming out. But the fact of the matter is that I've never felt more creative. I've never felt more self-confident. It really has taken me all this time, really, to get to a point of self-confidence where I'm confident enough, in my talents and in my abilities that I'm confident in putting them out there, and saying, yeah, I can do that. I can do that part. I can direct that film. I can write that story. I can do it. I know, I'm confident. It took me a long, 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 long time to get that confidence.
Wow.
My whole life, really.
But from reading your bio, there's been parts through your journey where you were in places and situations that help you build that centering, that groundness, that balance.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now here's the question that I wanted to ask. As much work as you've done, 25 years studying how to be centered and grounded, does it still go off kilter every once in a while?
Sure. Yeah, it still goes off kilter. Most times, and this is something, they talk about in meditation and in Buddhism. If you really want, I'm sure you can identify this. If you really want to test how grounded and centered you are, like go to Thanksgiving dinner with your family.
True.
And you'll find out just how long you last before somebody says something that just gets you incredibly pissed off or depressed or, something that'll knock you off your pins. So I find that it's generally family stuff now that can knock me off balance.
Yeah.
But I'm getting better at catching it. I think the key is really catching that moment where you snap into like being angry, or you start to like drop into being depressed. And you, rather than going with that energy, that there's that little part of you that steps back and says, oh, wait a minute now, I'm getting really pissed off. What is going on here? Maybe I should just stop for a second and see what this is.
Yeah.
And if I can do that and kind of be with that energy without feeding it. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because everybody gets angry. Everybody has stuff that sets them off one way or the other. The question is whether you kind of, grab it and like let it take you, or whether you just kind of let it wash through you. And then if you do, and you don't fight it and you don't grab it,
right.
Then it generally just, it's like you've been hit by a wave, it's like, and then, it gets calm again.
Yeah, I call it my drive-by moments. I'm driving by, I realize that I'm mad or upset or sad or whatever the emotion is, and I just drive by and I acknowledge, it's like, hey, I see you there, but I'm not stopping. I just want to acknowledge you and keep going, which is what's helped me, especially during lockdown, to not sit in those pity parties or those I don't belong here moments. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Any of those, any of those. And really any, one of the core tenets of Buddhism is learning to regard whatever happens with equanimity, and avoiding both attraction and aversion.
Mm.
So in other words, not, when you see something you really like, not trying to grab it and hold on to it and, try to get more of it. And if there's something that happens to you that you don't like, that you don't try to push it away or get angry at it, you just let it be. Just be with it, and the wave will hit, the wave will pass through you and you'll be back.
Do you have something that you say to yourself, or something that you do when that moment pops up, other than just
Well, I think it's I think it's getting used to recognizing those moments when they come up. And what has helped me doing that is meditation. Because I try to meditate every day. Lately, I've been falling off the wagon, so I'm trying to get a little bit better. But I try to meditate like half an hour a day, but even 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and meditation, or the meditation I do, is pretty much it's breath focus. So you're kind of focusing on your breath, and then you just kind of observe what is going on. Like, oh wow, that thought, I just got caught up in that thought for 2 minutes. All right, let's go back to the breath. And oh gee, I'm feeling really depressed because that happened yesterday, and let's go back to the breath. And so if I keep returning, to the breath, that's sort of grounded, I'm just breathing and that's all that's happening right now.
Yeah.
Then that I can take that, or that sort of naturally becomes a part of, who I am or how I deal with things. So when I'm out in the world, I can sort of do that, that starts to become second nature a little bit. I won't say I'm there, but it helps a lot.
I can relate to that, because the years that the last 8 years, 9 years almost, that I've been the Cardivo and practicing my spirituality at a more, I guess, professional level, you could say. Um, that's definitely the thing that you will. I find myself in places going, like that is not my energy. Whatever they're dealing with is not about me, and I need to walk away from the situation. But it's not always easy. But I guess
No, it's not easy at all. No, it's not easy.
are you able to give yourself permission when things are not going the right way, or things are not setting right, or
Am I able to give my permission to do
to yourself? Because sometimes, because for me, your bio, I can tell that you like to stay active and you like to stay productive. And then there are times when, and I'll raise my hand to that too. But then there's times when, like, something doesn't click, the computer's not working, a guest is not on time, the project that I bid for, I didn't get, and it's like, ugh. Do you give yourself permission to just go through the
Sure,
feelings and emotions?
sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think you have to give yourself permission to acknowledge the emotions that come up for you. For anybody. Because we're all going to be, upset, disappointed, depressed, all that stuff. That's just a part of being human. Unless you go to a mountaintop and meditate for 20 years, and you're one of those guys that can do that. Then you can get beyond that, and once every 200 or 300 years, somebody like the Buddha or Christ or something manages to get to that state. But the rest of us are sort of stuck with the human condition and the human emotions. So yeah. I mean, it's kind of recovering. It's how fast can you recover? How fast can you not push it away, because that just makes it stronger. It's how fast can you acknowledge it, feel it, and kind of come back to that stable place. And I'm getting better at it, but shit, I've been practicing for 70 plus years. So
So you've done a lot in your lifetime. Um, let's talk entertainment a little bit. What guided you? What helped you put that together?
well, here's been my blessing and my curse in the entertainment industry. Okay. and you probably will be able to acknowledge with this, to identify with this, is that I have a lot of talents in a lot of different areas. Okay. I'm a pretty good writer. I'm a pretty good actor. I'm a pretty good producer if I want to be. I'm a good director. I mean, that's all great. Yeah, wow. Look, you can do all that stuff. The problem with being able to do all of that stuff is you can get very kind of ADD. And if something doesn't go well, then you say, well, I don't need to do that. I'm going to go do this instead. I like to do this. I'm good at this. Oh, well, that didn't work out. I'm going to do this. And I have done that, too much, I would say. So I came out here as an actor. I actually came out here to be an actor, and couldn't handle it. I mean, I couldn't handle the rejection, basically, the fact that you get 25 no's and maybe one yes. That's just the way it is. That's the actor's life. That's the way it is.
Yeah. So
I couldn't handle it, and I had also had a background in production, and being like a PA, a production assistant, and kind of, the sort of the other brain, what's that? The left brain side, kind of the organizational, logical side, as opposed to the creative, intuitive side. So I went with the left brain side, and I became an assistant director, which, is kind of it's the organizational guy. It's the guy that makes the trains run on time, gets the actors on the set on time, puts together the schedule, and all of that very left brain, logical, rational stuff. And that's what I started doing. And I started to have some success at that. And then that's what my career was for, 20 years, more than 20 years. Yeah, 20 years, about 20 years. I was an assistant director first on a lot of movies. Some big movies. I worked with Clint Eastwood on a couple of things, and I worked with Robert Redford this was one of my first movies and his first movie, Ordinary People, which was a big, won the Academy Award for Best Picture, way back in whenever that was. Jesus, I don't know what it was. Late 70s, I guess. And Peter Weir on the Dead Poets Society, which was a really amazing experience, a really wonderful movie, and then a lot of crap that you've never heard of and you never want to see. But
even as an actor, I've done a lot of stuff that I don't want anybody to see anymore. Yeah,
no. But you work, you got to work. You got to make a living. And then I got into situation comedies. Because I really like comedy. I really like comedy. I'm a comedy guy. And worked as an assistant director in sitcoms for about 10 years, I guess.
Wow.
And then, I did a season of The Golden Girls, which was, yeah, I know. I did a whole season as a stage manager, assistant director, same thing, basically, of The Gold. And oh my God, what a great. Those women were just so brilliant and such professionals.
You realize that as a gay man, you're basically a god to me right now. Like you were like right there with Betty White. Are you kidding me? Like
I worked on a lot of sitcoms, and this was like an era when Friends was first starting to hit, and everybody was like, "Oh, we want to make the next Friends. We're going to get a bunch of young actors together that's never and we're going to." And so I did 2 or 3 of those shows, and I won't name them and I won't name the actors, but there are a lot of these young actors who this would be like their first big gig or something, and they were just so full of themselves, and they just thought, if their shit didn't stink, if you will pardon the expression, and and treated people like crap, and were late and didn't know their lines, and just and then I work on The Golden Girls. And these women, every day they're on time, and they go into makeup and hair on their own. They don't need to be asked, and they're polite to everybody. And my grandmother, when I was working on that show, my grandmother had her 80th birthday, I think. And I think I told I mentioned it or Betty or something. And I called my grandmother on the phone and I said, Grandma, I want you to, somebody's here. Somebody wants to say happy birthday to you. And she got on the phone and wished my grandmother a happy birthday.
Wow, that's
How,
amazing. That's
how
pretty
beautiful,
amazing.
how beautiful was that? I mean, total pros and funnier. We'd get scripts. We get scripts, and you'd read the script, and you'd go, "Well, okay, this is okay. There's a few funny jokes in here. This is like, this is not going to be a great show." And then you'd put that dialogue in their mouths, and they'd know how to, and it just like became a laugh riot. They were brilliant. So yeah, that was a great. That was a
That
great.
is so cool.
Very privileged to work on that
If
show.
Betty White, if you are watching this, I would love to interview you on my show. So come on over. What I mean, just not to mention, just not a side note on that. It's just, I mean, I'm 50. I've been in entertainment for 15 years, and to learn from people that have been on it longer than me, it's just such a privilege to be able. I mean, I feel very honored to hear some of these stories from you because it just makes you realize like you can. I mean, you have an amazing resume, and you're so kind when we met to just share and talk and let me do a reading for you. I'm like, please, like you've been practicing Buddhism for 25 years, like, and you like let me pull cards for you. That was such like I felt so honored. And then you come on my show, and I feel like dude, you don't have to do this, yet here you are being so kind. So it's awesome. It's awesome. For all you young people out there, be humble. Be humble.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. Be professional. Just be professionals, you know? They were such professionals. Yeah, I can tell you lots of show business stories. I will tell you about Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood was one of the few guys that I worked with who was like of that stature. Of course, there's very few people that are of Clint Eastwood's stature. Right. I mean, this guy's 90 years old. He's literally 90 years old now, and I think he's making another movie. I mean, he's
amazing.
But he's a guy that I got the impression, and I didn't socialize. You didn't socialize with, but I remember one night he had a bunch of us out to dinner. We just went to a Mexican restaurant, and he was just like one of the guys, and I really got the impression that if he went to bed, he was like he did a bunch of stuff before he became an actor. He was like a telephone lineman and stuff like that. I got the impression that if he went to sleep and he woke up the next day and he was like, it had all been a dream and he was just a telephone lineman again, he'd be cool. He'd be cool with that. He wouldn't have a problem with that. He'd be, yeah, okay, no problem. Let's just do it. Just very down to earth. Good guy. Yeah.
So before we continue, I want to remind everybody you are watching Putting Together Conversations. Today, my guest is pretty cool dude, Mr. Tom Seidman. Thank you so much for being here. We're talking about entertainment, finding your center, and being balanced, or as close as we can get to it. If you are watching this on Facebook, join the conversation. Post your question in the video part, and we will read it out loud. If you are watching this on YouTube, will you scroll down, subscribe to the videos, to my page, and like this video, and then leave a comment, and it'll pop up, and we'll make sure to read it. If you're watching on Twitter, you're not left out. Post a comment, and I will make sure I read it. My phone is right here next to me, so I'll make sure to read your question and let Tom know so that you can be part of the conversation. It's part of the conversation, and you're part of it. If you're watching all this on replay, leave your questions and comments anyway, and I'll make sure they get to Tom. So with that, where do you want to go next? You have I feel like I can't even, I don't even want to guide you. Like what do you want to talk about? We still have 30 more minutes to go.
Well, I just want to tell you, this is very cool that you do this. I mean, this is a very cool thing. And it's really, I think it's a matter of just like knowing that you want to do it, knowing that this is something you feel you should be doing, and then you do it. And if you get 1 million subscribers, or if you get 10 subscribers, it doesn't matter. It's just something that you feel that you need to do. I struggle with that as a writer, because I man, I wrote when I was working on sitcoms. I really wanted to write sitcoms and direct sitcoms. And I was an assistant director, so I wasn't writing or directing. And I wrote a lot of sitcom scripts, spec scripts, that got real good feedback. And I never was able to make that leap from the production side over to the writing side. And since then, I've written a bunch of scripts. And they've gotten good feedback, but nothing has happened with any of them unless I've made it happen myself. The movies that I've made, that I've written, I basically just gone out and raised the money for myself, because I said, fuck it, I'm not waiting for somebody in the industry to say yes to me. I'm going to go to whatever resources I have with family, friends, and get the money to make these movies. And which is what I did. But there was not very long ago where I just said, this is ridiculous. I'm spending all this time on these scripts. I'm really, I'm a very conscious, focused writer, and I use all the craft that I know, and yet these scripts are not going anywhere. People are not buying them. People are not producing them. And what am I doing with myself writing these scripts? And I just realized that, it's like, that's what I'm here to do. That's what I'm here to do. That's a talent that was given to me, and I had a gift that was given to me, and I like doing it. I really enjoy, sort of, it's like writing is like a big puzzle to me. It's like you get an idea, and then you think, oh, well, I could do that, and this idea, and then it's like, how do I make all these puzzle pieces fit together, and how do I layer them, how do I structure them, and how do I make a story out of it, and I like that process.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, yeah, okay, if it happens, I write it, I get it, try to put it out there whatever way I can, and if something happens with it, great, and if it doesn't, on to the next one. And maybe 100 years from now, somebody will open the trunk that's got my scripts in it, and they'll go, oh, wait, this stuff is pretty good. And, or maybe they won't, but it's just what I have to do, just like you have to do this show.
And I totally, yes. When I first started putting together podcast back in 2012, I was the network Abnormal Entertainment. There was a big group of folks. We were all doing podcasts, so it was a little bit of sibling rivalry to see who got the most likes and views, or postings or whatever. And then I started to lose myself. I started to do these shows and topics that I didn't care about. And you could tell I could tell in my tone of voice, I didn't give a shit what these people were talking about. I was like, I don't care anymore. And then that dragged on for a little while. I revamped the show. And then when I was diagnosed with cancer, post-cancer in 2015, is when I discovered, I want to do shows and talk to people that I like, because I want to hear it. And if one person hears the story and they relate, awesome. If 1 million people hear it, awesome. But I'm not going to worry about that. I want to like today, I'm here for you, for Tom. I want to know Tom's story, and whoever is watching or listening, and they can join the conversation, or they can just sit back and watch. But like you said, hopefully some years from now, somebody's going to click on this on YouTube and go, I know Tom. I worked with them. Oh my God, I didn't know this about him. And they will be just as amazed as I am. But yeah, I'm more concerned with my inner peace than making peace with everybody else. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. That makes sense. So 2 things about what you said makes me think about something else. What is about that inner peace, and finding that inner peace, and hopefully, ideally, you try to find work, whether it's work, or whether it's just, an activity or a hobby or whatever you want to call it, just what you're putting your focus on, that both gives you that sense of peace and satisfaction, and hopefully does something positive for somebody else. And in Buddhism, it's said that if your entire life you've just done one thing that's made one other person's life better, then your life's okay. Your life's
Yeah.
a success.
Yeah.
So that is part of why I'm going to swing this over. This is not really the infomercial. This is like the press on the talk shows to pitch their movies and stuff. So that brings me now. I want to bring that to Bardo VR just because it's up here. I put it up there on the screen. That's my email if anybody wants to send an email to me. But to just talk for a minute about what Bardo VR is and how it relates. Oh, look, you put it up there. To what we're talking about here. So Bardo VR, here's what Bardo VR is. And this came about, actually, so I told you I was at this Bernie Sanders rally in 2015. And that was the first time I'd ever seen virtual reality. Which, at that time was just on cell phones. You'd have cell phones and you'd put it in this little cardboard thing and there'd be a couple of little lenses in it and you'd put it on your face and it would be very sketchy and, you'd see the pixels would be that big. But you'd be like in a virtual reality world where, whatever direction you look in, you're in a 360-degree world. And I think it was a Syrian refugee camp. Somebody had set up a virtual reality camera in the middle of a Syrian refugee camp and just turned it on. And you put these goggles on and you were standing in the middle of the Syrian refugee camp with all these tents and these little kids running around. You can hear all the voices and you can look in every direction and see the aid trucks. And it was like, oh my God, this is a game changer. I mean, this is a game changer. This is like dreaming when you're awake. This is like you are being transported to another world that's completely you're in. And at about that same time, I was reading in my Buddhist studies, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And the Tibetan Book of the Dead describes what happens to your consciousness from the time that you actually physically start dying. And it goes through all the processes that you're going to experience as your body shuts down, basically, when you're dying. And then takes you through all the different stages of consciousness after you physically died and up until when your consciousness is reincarnated in another form.
Wow.
Whether it's as another person, whether it's as an animal, whether it's as a spirit, a disembodied spirit. So you don't actually come back into a physical body, but you still have a consciousness that's at, one of those higher planes. And all these different planes and ways that you can be reincarnated to describe. But the journey itself is multiple stages and just mind-blowingly fascinating. I mean, it's mind-blowing, the whole thing. And there are a lot of stages. So I was reading that and I had this this VR experience at Bernie Sanders, and I went, oh my God, what if you could reproduce what they're talking about in the Tibetan Book of the Dead in virtual reality? And you could actually take people through the entire death, post-death consciousness journey up until you're reincarnated. How cool would that be? So that was like 3.5 years ago. I got fascinated with this idea. And that's what we're in the process of doing right now. We've got if people go to bardovr.com, they can kind of see what the current stage of the project is. We've got some clips up there that are just, two-dimensional movie clips, like little movie clips from this Bardo journey, but it sort of suggests what some of the stuff is going to be like. And what we're trying to do is put together this trip for people. And what makes it so what makes it more than just this trippy experience is that it's interactive. And what you focus on when you're in these bardos, they're called, what you focus on and pay attention to is what determines what your trip is through this whole landscape. Right?
Yeah.
So if you get caught up in anger when you're there, if you see things that make you angry and you try to fight them, and then that's going to take you to, sort of the angry fighting place, and you're going to probably be reborn as some kind of being that is involved in constant conflict.
Wow.
If you are able to take in what's happening with equanimity, with neither attraction or aversion, then you're going to end up at a much higher plane when you're reborn.
Wow.
Yeah. So and here's the key. The same principles that apply in this bardo journey, in this post-death journey, the same principles are the same principles that apply in this life. This is considered a bardo as well. Bardos are just stages, successive stages that consciousness goes through, and it's a big circle. You just keep cycling around these birth, life, death, the bardo journey of consciousness into birth again, life, and you just keep cycling until you figure out how to get out. And how you get out is by accepting everything and realizing that everything is the projection of your own consciousness. So you get into some pretty trippy states here.
I'm so excited. I'm ready. I'm ready to.
You're ready, right? You're ready to.
I'm so ready because we talked about this a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
We
did.
And having had the type of life that I've had with certain health conditions, and having died and brought back several times in my lifetime.
Oh yeah, you told me that. Yeah.
Yeah, based on my sister's and Christian's count, I've died 5 times and brought back 5 times. So there's a lot of, I don't know how much I brought back with me, but I definitely believe that that's what makes me today is those spiritual journeys that I went on for whatever time I was gone. But which kind of ties up to what we're talking about at the beginning of the show is like we decide how long we sit in a pity party. We decide how long. And if I truly honestly believe, maybe because it's my journey, like all of these hardships, all these knocks on my head and bruises and warts is what makes me the person that I love today. Like I really love me. I don't like me all the time, but man, I do love me. 'Cause I'm just a little brat, but that aside. But it's because of all the struggles that I've been through that I can look at myself and go, dude, be lazy, man. You've earned it. Like take a couple of hours and go chill. Go play some video, a meditation video on YouTube and just lay back and enjoy it. If you fall asleep, that's fine. You've earned it. And I think it just takes a long time to get there. But I'm so excited to see this, and because I my goggles are like I'm pointing at them right now. They're right there on my side.
Oh, you have the air. You have the air.
I have a pair of goggles that I got through when I got my phone several years ago, and they were giving away goggles.
Yeah.
So I have my goggles. I'm ready for this journey. So yes, no, I'm
get it done, right?
So for everybody watching, we are about 10 minutes to the end of the show. Make sure you go check out the website, bardovr.com. Go check what's there right now. And you can see, I'm going to put up.
If you there's a form on the website that you can send me. You send me questions or whatever, or you can just send it to me.
So part of the show is
oh God.
to ask my guest to share some words of wisdom with the audience. So, Tom, what words of wisdom would you like to share?
Wow. I mean, I feel like we've been doing words of wisdom all along here.
I know. So just one more, one more.
I, I don't know. I feel like I've kind of told you everything that I've learned that I has any value. I mean, I really feel like you need to connect. I needed to connect with what it was that made me that interested me, that made me excited, that I enjoyed, and to believe that if I pursued that and put my energy into that, that it was going to be good for other people too somehow, and that it's not up to me whether or not I see the success of it, or whether it's successful in here's more words of wisdom. Here we go. More Buddhist stuff for you.
I feel like you have your own vision board back there somehow.
Well, I got it. Well, I have a whole little Buddhist shrine over here, and I have stuff up on the. So these are called the 8 mundane concerns. So this is the 8 things that the Buddhists say, don't get caught up in this. Okay? The 8 mundane concerns. Becoming elated when someone praises you. Becoming depressed when someone belittles you. Feeling happy when you experience success. Becoming depressed when you experience failure. Becoming joyful when you acquire wealth. Feeling dispirited when you become poor. Being pleased. Feeling depressed when you lack recognition. You need to give all that up. Give it up. You just need to do what you feel in your heart you need to do. You need to put it out there and then let it go, because it ain't up to you after that. You know, and don't get caught up if you've got 1 million views on your video. You just be humble about it, and don't get depressed if nobody's watching it, because you're doing what you feel in your heart you're here to do, and it's not up to you whether or not it's successful. You just have to. You got to put it. You just have to put it out there.
Wow.
But those aren't my words of wisdom. This is all somebody else's stuff, and I just steal it and use it. That's all.
You know what? It's. I'm a little speechless right now. It's what I needed to hear right now. So thank you. I appreciate that. It's just trusting. Just trusting.
Trust what you've been given, in your heart is what you're here to do. And that's all. That's your job. That's your only job.
I'm not crying. You're crying, Tom. Stop it.
And you're doing that, Daniel. I can tell you're doing that. I know you're doing that. I know that you are doing that, because just from doing the show and the readings that you do, you're doing it. You're in it. So God bless you. God bless you for following your heart, man.
I can honestly say that, and having cancer at 44, about to hit 45, was, I know people are getting like, what? It was a blessing in disguise. It made me completely stop. It went from a hernia to cancer to an ostomy. So I was in bed for 1.5 years, pretty much. I couldn't leave the house. And it made me stop and reevaluate what I wanted to do. And Christian one day asked me, is like, what are you going to do now? Because I couldn't really go out and do promotional work and run around all day anymore. My body just wasn't there. It's like, what do you want to do? And that's when I became a member of the union and became a legit actor. And I really went full force with the podcast. And my spiritual work, and I said, okay, let's really buckle down and do what you want. And for the first time in my life, and I wish this to all of you watching and or listening, I really wish this for you. The old saying, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day. And I don't see, I mean, yes, there are days when I'm like, I really just want to lay in bed all day, but I'm like, no, I've got an interview to do, or I've got a show, or I've got a client to read for, or whatever. And it gets me just in a good mood. It's just like it. I've had, I'm not going to cry.
You can cry.
I have had the honor of talking to over 400 people in 9 years in interviews and get to learn from them and know and understand better. Um, and I've been so blessed and honored that people trust me to come on my show, regardless of the viewers, regardless of the numbers. People just trust me to say, hey, yeah, I'll come on your show and share my story. And it's such an intimate moment sometimes that we have. And I'm so grateful. So thank you for saying that, because I do have doubts in my head, and I'm like, what's this little Mexican trying to accomplish? And then I look back and I'm like, dude, you've done quite a bit. So, keep going. So thank you for doing that. Like, I'm so honored to have you on the show, and I hope it's not the last time.
I'm honored to be here, Daniel, and I consider you a soul mate, soul buddy. So
Of course.
I'm sure this won't be the I'm sure this won't be the last time that we get together, whether it's on the show or outside. Whenever.
Well, I am waiting and anxious for the day that we can visit, so I want to come and look at that wall behind you and see everything you have on there.
All the crap on my wall. Yeah.
Yes, it tells a lot. And then once you're ready to launch all that, I hope you'll make us visit back to the show and come and tell us about it. And
I would be honored to do that, and I really hope I have the opportunity to do that, because it would, if I can get this, I would love to be able to get this project off the ground. I think it could be a huge benefit to a lot of people. And as I was kind of working my way around to before, if it's a benefit to just one person, if one person does, Bardo VR, or they see the Christmas Bunny, the movie I made, and it makes a little bit of difference in their life, if it makes them feel better, or if it makes them think a little differently, then my life will not have been lived in vain, as they say.
Well, I am so, again, I totally enjoyed the movie, and I'm excited to see Bardo VR like full force ahead, and I'm right there in line waiting for it. Any last words before we go? Any last comments?
No, I'm just very appreciative of the fact that you do this. I mean, I'm really, I've met a lot of people on Lunch Club, and there's some business stuff that was valuable and interesting people, but there's a connection with you, and that is much deeper than most of them. I mean, you're a compassionate spiritual man, and that's a wonderful thing. You got to give that to the world as much as you can, and you do. You are.
I do my best.
You do.
I am very spoiled. God and the universe are very, very good to me. They have never led me in the wrong path, and they give me the abundance that I need to get what I want. And I can't but only pay it forward and without judgment, but I am Mexican and Catholic and gay, so I am a little judgy, but I won't do it in public. I don't do it in front of people. I'll wait till the show is over. Thank you so much. Don't go away. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. For everybody watching, Mr. Tom Seidman has been a guest on the show today. Go check out the website. Go look at the information. Go watch the Christmas Bunny. I will post the link to the YouTube in the description, both on Facebook and YouTube, so you can find it. It's on YouTube, so you can go check it out. And Tom, don't go away. Hang on for a second, and I'll be right back for you. for everybody watching, I hope you were inspired and moved like I did. That's what we do here on the show, is try to motivate and inspire all of you to go after your goals and dreams. So if you've missed any of the shows, you can go back on Facebook, look for us. I put it together conversations. You can find all the shows that we've done, the live streams. Go to YouTube and Daniel Garza, and you can find all the videos on there. Or, and if you're, as long as you're on Facebook, will you subscribe and like the video and maybe make a comment? That would be really great. If you're on Twitter, you can find all of the recent live stream shows on there too. And make sure you comment and retweet those for us. Go to Put It Together. Put It Together or abnormalentertainment.com, and you can find all those shows that we have up. You can find all the audio podcasts on there. So you can find us in visual and audio wherever you find your podcast. For now, I want to thank Tom for being on the show. I want to thank you guys for being here. And hey, this is Daniel Garza saying, hey, put it together.